Today, I'm going to show you how I create short form content for TikTok, Instagram Reels, and even YouTube Shorts, and how you could too. I'm going to show you my entire process from picking a topic, scripting, my lighting setup, talk about the gear I use, my camera settings, the editing phase, and the posting phase. And I'm not going to make you wait any longer, so let's get right into it. Coming up with a topic or an idea for a video is most often the hardest part, and I think it's because we produce so much content that we start to, run out of ideas. And this is why I keep a notebook with me at all times, because I want to be able to write down any ideas that come to mind at any time. For some reason, I find myself most creative or full of ideas right before I go to bed. I'll just be laying there and a million ideas start running through my head. So I like to keep this notebook on me so I can write those down right away. Now, I never really used a notebook to write down my content ideas, but because I produce so much content for YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, there are some days where I am burnt out and I can't think of any new ideas. So I like to have a list of ideas that I can pick at any time for a video. Like some of these ideas I have written in here are ideas from months ago that I still haven't created videos for. With these ideas, I like to expand on them a little bit. I'll show you how I do this. Sometimes I do this in my notebook, or lately I've been using GoodNotes on my iPad, and this is because I feel like I get way more creative when I'm actually touching pen to paper, or I guess in this case actually writing it down as opposed to typing. So what better way of showing you how I create short form content than creating a short form video right now. I'll make a video about the best way to host your photography portfolio. I'll grab the iPad and start expanding on this topic. Depending on the video, I may script word for word and type it, or I'll just bullet point the important things I want to make sure I talk about, which is what I'm doing now. I'll even brainstorm hooks I want to use in the video to grab the viewer's attention right at the beginning. Once I finish brainstorming, I get ready to film it. This means setting up my lights and setting up all my gear. Now, my gear is always set up so I can make a video at any time, but I'll show you all the gear and lights I use for this setup. For my key light, which is the main one lighting my face, I use a Godox SL60W with a 25-inch softbox from Neewer. I'm not gonna go over all the light stands and little things. If you wanna see everything that I use right now, I'll leave a link down below in the description where you can check out my entire kit I'm using for this scene. Now, I also have another light that brightens up the entire scene or background behind me. You can't really tell, but if I do this, you can see it kind of gets a little darker, and I'm gonna brighten it back up. This is just a cheap dimmable light bulb in a holder connected to a light bulb dimmer switch that I got from Home Depot. To soften this light, I literally just throw a plastic grocery bag over top of it. For the camera, I'm using the Sony a7 IV with the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. I actually just picked up this recently, and I'm absolutely loving it. Now, because I can't set up a tripod behind my desk because there's no room, my desk is literally touching my window. I have the camera mounted to a Neewer ball head, which is connected to a Mantis extension arm with a spigot connected to a Mantis super clamp, and that's just clamped right onto my desk. Again, all this gear that I'm talking about will be listed in the description down below. After that, I set up my microphone, which is the Rode VideoMic NTG, which is another recent upgrade to my kit. The microphone is actually attached to this boom arm to get as close to my face as possible, and it's just hiding right above the frame, so you can see it right here. Because this microphone's cable is so short, I had to pick up this Rode extension cable to make it longer so I can get it off of the camera and on a boom arm. Now let's talk about the camera settings I use to film my videos. With the Sony a7 IV, I use XAVC S4K. I film in 422 10-bit at 24 frames per second in S-Log 3. I make sure the ISO is at 800, which is the native ISO for the a7 IV, to ensure we get the most dynamic range. I actually turn the camera vertical when shooting all of my TikTok, Instagram, and Shorts content, and this is so I can use the full resolution of the sensor and not have to crop in on a landscape video. I use the FeelWorld F5 Pro monitor to make sure I'm exposed properly before filming, and once everything looks good, I click record. Depending on the type of video and whether or not I scripted it, there's a few ways I'll go about getting that information out to the viewer. If I bullet pointed the script, then I'll have a really good understanding of what I'm about to say, and I'll talk about each point separately. If I scripted the video, then I'll have my phone in my hand or off to the side. I'll read a few lines and then refer back to the phone, look back at the camera, and speak a few more lines. Once we're done filming, I connect the A7 IV to the Mac Mini and I transfer that video file directly onto my desktop. Because it's such a small file, I edit directly off my desktop rather than transferring it to an SSD. In Final Cut Pro, I open up my Reels TikTok library, and typically when creating my YouTube videos, I like to create separate libraries and projects for each video, and that's because there's a lot of media I have to manage in those projects or in those libraries. But when it comes to short form content like this, and because I'm producing so much of it, I actually just do everything in one library and in one project file. So if I film a short video about the A7 IV and then I finish it, I'll just add a little spacer or a block in between that video and start my next little short form video in that same timeline. But for those who want to know, these are my project settings. I'll switch this to vertical 2160 by 3840. I keep the codec to ProRes Rec 709. Frame rate 23.98 FPS, and stereo 48 kilohertz for the audio. Now, because we live in a world where people's attention spans are so short, I like to keep my videos fast-paced to get as much information out in the shortest amount of time. To achieve this fast-paced video style, I like to cut out all the unnecessary pauses, and if I find any information that is not important or ruins the flow of the video, I cut it out. After I make all the necessary cuts, I add in my music. For music, I like to use Artlist.io because I can really find a song that fits the video. Also because I can take that video and post it to YouTube Shorts, and I don't have to worry about getting copyright strikes or anything like that when you're using another service. So if you're looking for a good place to find copyright-free music, I would highly suggest Artlist, and actually if you use the link down in my description, you can get 2 months for free. Once I found the music I want to use for the video, I throw it onto the timeline, and this is where the video gets 10 times better. I'll line up the bass drop or the point where the music starts to pick up right when I finish saying my hook. I'll add in keyframes throughout the video and play with the audio levels to make the video flow better. This usually means slowly increasing the music level and lowering it immediately after when I want to make a piece of information stand out to the viewer. Now we're almost done, but we need to add in our titles. If you've seen any of my short form content, you know I like to use those really big black and yellow blocky titles. I downloaded so many title packs and I was never satisfied with any of them. I always had to add in the background myself or keyframe the position and rotation to add in a wiggle, and it was just a lot of work. So I actually created my own title, which is as simple as dragging and dropping it onto the timeline. The effects panel has only the important adjustments you would need to make this title work for any of your videos. You don't like the yellow, change it to whatever color you want. Don't want the background at all, you can just click it and turn it off. Or if you don't want the shadow, you can turn that off as well. But let me show you how I use it for my videos. I drag my title onto the timeline, click on the first inspector panel, and change my text to something that catches the viewer's attention. Scale it down a tab because these are made for full YouTube videos. Extend the background to fit your title, and that's it. I'm gonna copy and paste the same title, stack them on top of each other, add in the rest of my title, then change the color of this one to a black background with yellow lettering. Lastly, I'll skim through the video and add some zoom in and zoom out effects when I really want to emphasize certain parts of the video. This is super easy to do. You can either make 2 cuts where you want the zoom in effect to be and just zoom into that footage, but with Final Cut Pro, I actually found that when you make cuts, even though you don't take any of the video out, you can hear a little cut in the audio. So instead, I like to add keyframes and do it that way. Now let's watch this video over. Stop using social media for your portfolio and instead do this. Either create your own photography website to showcase your portfolio, or use websites like PicTime or Pixieset. Social media is a great place to share your work, but if you're posting your photos on there and using it as your portfolio, here's something to keep in mind. Despite being in 2022, many everyday people don't use social media. So let's say you're out and about and you meet someone who is telling you that they need a wedding photographer for their wedding that's coming up, and you tell them to go check out your work on Instagram. Well, they're gonna ask if you have a website where they they can go and check out your work. Personally, I think customizing your own website and having your photos on a platform anyone can access is a lot more professional. If you're too lazy to create your own website and add all of your photos on there, and you already use a platform like Pixieset or PicTime to deliver your client galleries, you can actually create a website on there and add any client gallery that you've already delivered to your clients. When creating your portfolio, make sure you only add your best photos, add photos that represent what you want to be booked for, and don't be repetitive. And that's why you need to stop using social media for your portfolio and instead do this. Okay, that's it. I think it looks pretty good, and I think we're ready to export. To export just that one video on my timeline, I go to the starting of the clip and I click I on my keyboard to set an in point, and then I go to the end of the video and click O to set my out point. Then head to the top and click export. When exporting, I leave my settings exactly like this. For format, I use Apple devices, H.264 better quality for the video codec, and 1216 by 2160 for the resolution. Then I just save it to a folder on my desktop. To retain the highest quality, I transfer the video to my iPhone using AirDrop. I found this is one of the best ways, and your video is not gonna get compressed. From then, I post to TikTok. We don't have to add any music because I already added music in Final Cut Pro. I also found that if you add any stickers or text on the TikTok app, it actually ruins the quality of your videos, so I don't touch anything once I import the video into TikTok. I go straight to the very end, I add my caption, and one important thing you need to make sure you're doing to ensure you get the highest quality video is make sure you select allow high quality uploads. Once I've done that, I click the post button. And there we have it, a full breakdown of how I create short form content for social media. If you enjoyed the video or you found it useful, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to see more content like this. And I'll see you in the next one.